The Bosleys were a picture-perfect family, or so it seemed. Bob Bosley, a successful businessman in Campbell County, Kentucky, had built an empire with his wife, Amy, by his side. Together, they owned a thriving roofing business, enjoyed a life of luxury, and were raising 2 young children. But on May 17, 2005, the idyllic facade crumbled when Amy made a frantic 911 call, claiming an intruder had broken into their remote cabin and fatally shot her husband. The story quickly captured headlines, sending shockwaves through the close-knit community. As authorities raced to find the alleged killer, troubling secrets began to emerge, shattering the illusion of the Bosleys' perfect life. This is the story of ambition, betrayal, and a desperate act that turned a dream into a nightmare. Bob and Amy Bosley were prominent figures in Campbell County, Kentucky. Bob, born on August 6, 1962, was the ambitious owner of a successful roofing and chimney sweep business, which he built from the ground up through relentless hard work. Known for his generosity and charisma, he was a private pilot and an active member of the community, involved in organizations such as the National Chimney Sweep Guild and the Alexandria Businessmen's Association. Amy, born in 1967, was raised in Alexandria, Kentucky. An only child from a working-class family, she graduated high school as a top student in 1986 and pursued business administration at a local community college. While working at a local diner, she met Bob, who was a regular customer. Their relationship blossomed, leading to marriage in 1990. Amy took on the role of bookkeeper and office manager for Bob's business, managing the company's finances and administrative tasks. The couple enjoyed the fruits of their labor, owning luxury cars, a private plane, and a 50-foot motor yacht. They were in the process of constructing a castle-like dream home on their expansive 35-acre estate. Together they had 2 children, a daughter born in 1996 and a son in 1999. Amy was known as a dedicated mother, focusing entirely on her children's upbringing. Despite their outward appearance of success and happiness, underlying issues plagued their marriage. Bob was known for his lavish parties on Lake Cumberland, often involving heavy drinking and the company of other women. These escapades were an open secret in the community and a source of tension between the couple. Unbeknownst to Bob, Amy was concealing significant financial problems. As the manager of the company's finances, she had embezzled approximately $1.7 million, leading to substantial unpaid taxes. She went to great lengths to hide this from Bob, even impersonating him during communications with the IRS. The day of the murder coincided with a scheduled IRS audit, which would have likely exposed her deceit. In the early hours of May 17, 2005, a tranquil night at the Bosley family's secluded cabin in Campbell County, Kentucky, was shattered by a series of gunshots. Amy Bosley, in a frantic 911 call at approximately 5 a.m., reported that an intruder had broken into their home and shot her husband, Bob Bosley. She described the assailant as a tall, white male with a pointed, mean face and claimed he was still in the house. Upon arrival, law enforcement officers found the cabin in disarray. The back door's glass was shattered, suggesting a forced entry. Inside the master bedroom, they discovered Bob Bosley lying lifeless on the bed, having suffered multiple gunshot wounds. The room appeared ransacked, with belongings strewn about, indicating a possible struggle or a staged scene. Notably, the couple's 2 young children, aged 6 and 9, were found unharmed in an upstairs loft bedroom. They had been awakened by the commotion, but were instructed by Amy to remain in their room. The initial assessment pointed towards a home invasion turned deadly. However, as investigators meticulously examined the scene, inconsistencies began to surface. The pattern of the ransacking seemed deliberate and lacked the randomness typical of a genuine burglary. Additionally, the absence of shell casings in the immediate vicinity of the body was unusual. Some were later found in unexpected places, such as the washing machine, raising questions about their placement. Further complicating the narrative, the children reported hearing gunshots before the sound of breaking glass, contradicting Amy's account of the sequence of events. This discrepancy suggested that the scene may have been staged to mislead investigators. As the investigation progressed, attention shifted from the notion of an unknown intruder to the possibility of an inside job. The emerging evidence began to paint a picture of a premeditated act, meticulously orchestrated to conceal deeper secrets within the Bosley household. As the community reeled from the shocking murder of Bob Bosley, the investigation into his death intensified. Initially, the focus remained on Amy Bosley's claim of an intruder breaking into their cabin and killing her husband. However, as detectives began piecing together the evidence, the narrative Amy provided began to crumble. Amy's description of the events on the morning of May 17, 2005, raised red flags. She had told police that a man broke into the cabin, engaged in a struggle with Bob, and then fatally shot him. However, the timeline she provided didn't match key forensic findings. Most notably, the couple's two children, Trevor, 9, and Morgan, 6, reported hearing the gunshots first and the sound of breaking glass afterward. This contradicted Amy's assertion that the intruder shattered the glass before the shooting. No signs of forced entry beyond the broken glass were found, and the lack of random disarray typically seen in break-ins further fueled doubts. Amy's claim that the shooter remained in the house during her 911 call was quickly ruled out after an exhaustive search by police, and K-9 units revealed no trace of an intruder. The crime scene presented more questions than answers. Bob had been shot 6 times with a 9mm Glock handgun, a weapon later linked to Amy's possession. However, police could not definitively match the Glock to the bullets due to the slugs being too mutilated. 2 shell casings were found near the body, while others were discovered in bizarre locations, including the washing machine. This suggested an attempt to tamper with or stage the evidence. There were no signs of a struggle on Bob's body, indicating he may have been asleep when he was shot. While the physical evidence cast suspicion on Amy, it was the financial investigation that provided a potential motive. As detectives delved into the Bosleys' business, they uncovered a massive embezzlement scheme orchestrated by Amy. Amy had siphoned approximately $1.7 million from the family business, failing to pay taxes to the IRS. Investigators found hundreds of unmailed checks to the IRS in Amy's car, indicating her efforts to hide the mounting debt from Bob. Amy had even impersonated her husband during phone calls with the IRS to prevent him from discovering the financial crisis. The timing of the murder was significant. An IRS audit was scheduled on the day Bob was killed, and investigators theorized that Amy feared her embezzlement would be exposed, potentially leading to the collapse of their business and her marriage. Amy's demeanor after the murder also raised eyebrows. Detectives noted that her grief seemed performative, with forced tears, but no actual crying. During interviews, she quickly transitioned from discussing Bob's death to criticizing him for his infidelities and alleged mistreatment. This behavior struck investigators as inconsistent with genuine shock or mourning. The most damning evidence came from the Bosleys' 2 children. During interviews with child specialists, they recounted that the glass in the back door was broken after the gunshots, directly contradicting Amy's story. Their testimonies solidified the belief that the crime scene had been staged and pointed to Amy as the prime suspect. 10 days after the murder of Bob Bosley, Amy Bosley was formally arrested and charged with first-degree murder and tampering with evidence. At the time of her arrest, Amy maintained her innocence, claiming she had no reason to harm her husband. Despite this, the evidence spoke to a darker reality, one where financial desperation, betrayal, and fear culminated in murder. Amy's defense team, led by attorney Jim Morgan, argued that there was no definitive proof linking her to the crime. They emphasized the lack of physical evidence tying her to the murder weapon. Although a Glock handgun from Bob's collection was found in Amy's possession, The severely damaged bullets made it impossible to conclusively match them to the gun. The possibility of another suspect. Morgan pointed to Bob's business dealings and extramarital activities, which could have earned him enemies. The absence of DNA evidence or eyewitness accounts directly implicating Amy. Morgan's strategy sought to introduce reasonable doubt, hoping to sway the jury against convicting her based solely on circumstantial evidence. Prosecutor Michelle Snodgrass laid out a compelling case, focusing on Amy's motive, opportunity, and the suspicious evidence at the crime scene. Amy's embezzlement of $1.7 million from the family business and the impending IRS audit created a dire financial crisis. The prosecution argued that Amy feared her husband discovering her crimes, which could have led to divorce, legal repercussions, and the collapse of their lifestyle. Amy had sole access to the crime scene, and the children's statements contradicted her account of an intruder breaking in. The children's testimony regarding the sequence of gunshots and broken glass was pivotal. Their statements debunked Amy's narrative of a home invasion and supported the theory that the crime scene had been staged. Snodgrass also highlighted Amy's unusual behavior in the aftermath of the murder, describing it as calculated and uncharacteristic of a grieving widow. Despite the strong circumstantial case, the prosecution faced a moral and emotional dilemma. The key witnesses in the case, Trevor and Morgan Bosley, were just 9 and 6 years old. Asking them to testify against their mother would have been traumatic and left lasting scars. To spare the children from testifying, the prosecution offered Amy a plea bargain, a 20-year prison sentence in exchange for pleading guilty to murder and tampering with evidence. Shockingly, Amy accepted the deal, ending the trial before it began. Her lawyers later claimed she agreed to the plea solely to protect her children. On November 2, 2006, Amy Bosley was sentenced to 20 years in prison. The sentencing hearing was an emotional spectacle. Members of Bob's family, still grieving and angry, confronted Amy in court. Bob's brother, James Bosley, called her a liar and a fake, accusing her of prioritizing her own self-interest over her family. His sister, Debbie Webb, demanded answers, asking if Bob had begged her to stop as she pulled the trigger. Bob's mother, Audrey Bosley, tearfully expressed her pain, lamenting the loss of her son and the impact on her grandchildren. Amy, clad in a green and white prison jumpsuit, mostly avoided eye contact with her in-laws, occasionally wiping away tears. Judge Fred Stein condemned her actions, emphasizing the devastating impact of her choices on her children, now left to grow up without either parent. Amy Bosley's guilty plea and subsequent 20-year prison sentence marked the end of the legal proceedings, but not the lingering repercussions of her actions. The small community of Campbell County was left reeling, grappling with the loss of a beloved figure and the shocking betrayal that led to his murder. Bob Bosley's tragic death exposed the cracks in what appeared to be a picture-perfect life, leaving friends and family struggling to reconcile the reality of Amy's actions. The Bosley children, Trevor and Morgan, were placed in the care of Bob's family. The young siblings, who had been present in the cabin on the night of the murder, faced the daunting task of rebuilding their lives without their parents. The trauma of that night and the subsequent loss of both parents loomed large over their childhoods, leaving emotional scars that would last a lifetime. The embezzled $1.7 million, which Amy had siphoned from the family business, became another point of contention. Bob's family believed that Amy had hidden the stolen money, possibly burying it on their expansive estate, though no concrete evidence ever surfaced to confirm this. The missing funds added to the family's pain, with accusations that Amy's financial misdeeds were rooted in greed and selfishness. In the aftermath, Bob's family pursued a civil suit against Amy, seeking justice for the financial and emotional damage she caused. The lawsuit added another layer to the family's grief, forcing them to revisit the events surrounding Bob's death while continuing to grapple with the loss. While incarcerated, Amy maintained a low profile. She rarely spoke publicly about the crime, and any claims of remorse were overshadowed by the enduring belief among Bob's family and the community that her actions were calculated and devoid of empathy. The plea deal, which allowed her the possibility of parole after serving 85% of her sentence, became a contentious topic. Many felt that her punishment did not fit the crime, with Bob's family publicly voicing their discontent. On May 18, 2022, Amy Bosley was released from prison after serving 17 years. Her release was met with mixed reactions. While some in the community were eager to move on from the tragedy, others, including Bob's family, were vocal in their belief that justice had not been fully served. They feared that Amy might benefit from the alleged hidden money and resume a life of comfort, a thought that further fueled their resentment. For Bob's family, the pain of his loss remains a constant presence. His brother, James Bosley, summarized the family's anguish during Amy's sentencing. "All we hope is that every night you see the face of my brother and the tear-stained faces of your children who have been turned into orphans." The Bosley case left an indelible mark on Campbell County, serving as a grim reminder of how greed, deceit, and desperation can unravel even the most seemingly idyllic lives. It also highlighted the devastating ripple effects of crime, where victims extend far beyond the individual targeted. The case of Amy and Bob Bosley is a haunting story of betrayal, loss, and the destructive power of secrets. What began as a tale of success and ambition ended in tragedy, leaving a family shattered and a community forever changed. While justice was served in the courtroom, the emotional wounds inflicted by this crime remain raw for those who lived through it. If this story captivated you, please take a moment to support our channel by subscribing. Hit the notification bell to stay updated on future content, and don't forget to like and share this video to help us bring more compelling true crime stories to light. Thank you for watching.